In June of 2018, we released a video called "The Action Figure Industry is Broken." It was an assessment of how the business had reached a point of potential unsustainability and offered some suggestions for how it might be salvageable. In August of 2020, this year, we released a follow-up video called "The Action Figure Industry is Still Broken and 2020 Ain't Helping." That second video was intended to be an update to the ideas put forth in the first video. However, under the unique stresses of 2020, it took a dark turn, evolving into an expression of all the frustrations, all the disappointments, all of the anger and resentment that had resulted from a year that we all desperately want to move on from, but still can't. Not yet. It allowed me to express a lot of what I was carrying around inside of me at the time, but also to speak on behalf of collectors everywhere. I got to say fuck 70 times. It was cathartic. It was fun. So while this video is a follow-up to those two videos, it's not really about the industry, it's about this year, 2020. This video is the other end of the spectrum, the light opposing the darkness that consumed that last video. Producer Greg and I wanted to end the year on a higher, happier note. This video is a celebration, a recognition of 10 good things that I will remember about 2020. Right up front, let me say that I'm eternally grateful that this year I had my health, a roof over my head, and the ability to work and buy groceries from home. I know too many people who dealt with a whole lot more this year than I did. The pain of 2020 was not equally distributed. And that's why it's so important for us to remember the good things, no matter how seemingly insignificant. Like number 10, the Super Sentai openings and endings playlist on Spotify. I just found this like 2 weeks ago. It's a Spotify playlist featuring all of the Super Sentai opening and ending theme songs. See, my father was in the Navy, and from 1980 to 1982, we lived in Japan. I spent 3 very formative years of my life watching Super Sentai, or as it came to be known in the United States, Power Rangers. I was a big fan, and those songs are as important to me as anything that ranked on the American Top 40. I still have a cassette that came with a picture book and the lyrics for the opening and closing themes of 4 shows at the time. It's in Japanese, of course. The words in the book, I mean. The pictures are in English. Before the invention of the internet, that cassette was my only option to listen to those 8 songs. After the internet was invented, I was at least able to find the songs and follow the new series each year. For the last several years, I would queue up my favorites as a playlist on YouTube. But now, Spotify just put them all together for me in one place. 45 years worth of opening and closing themes that sound better than they ever have, in chronological order, that I can listen to whenever, wherever I want. Number 9 is Rocket League. Yeah, the car soccer game that was released in 2015. My nephew Carter tried for years to get me to play when it was cool, and I would just look at the screen and think to myself in an old man voice, I have no idea what's going on. But I started casually playing in 2019 and far more competitively back in March. Am I any good? I mean, you know, high gold, sometimes platinum. It is not an exaggeration to say that this year I have played a lot. But the important part was that it was a fun, escapist means of entertainment that took me away from all of my other responsibilities. It turned my constantly obsessive brain off for a bit and satisfied my sometimes dangerously competitive side with rocket-powered race cars in a faraway futuristic arena. Number 8 is Gundam RX-78F00. In 2009, a life-size statue of RX-78-2 Grandpa Gundam was built to celebrate the 30th anniversary of its debut in the animated series Mobile Suit Gundam. In 2016, it was replaced with the then-current Unicorn Gundam. The plan was that a new moving RX-78 Gundam was going to be constructed in time for the 40th anniversary of this series in 2019. I was very interested in the development and followed it to the degree that I could through photos and articles posted online. They missed the 2019 debut date but set an opening for October of 2020, and then that got pushed back to December. Back in January, I was making plans to go to Japan to see it in person since I had missed the static version. RX-78-2, the original Gundam, is my Gundam. The first Gundam I was ever introduced to because at the time and for many years, it was the only Gundam that existed, especially in the US where subsequent series weren't broadcast. Even though I wasn't able to travel to Japan to see it in person yet, I am beyond psyched that this thing was completed. It exists, and even though the movement isn't the most spectacular display, it warms my heart to see it as part of the Yokohama skyline. It thrills me to know that the RX-78F00 is the Gundam of this timeline, of our reality, and that in maybe another 10 or 20 years, Japan is going to rule the world with giant robots. Number 7 is my cats. We got Lupin and Wednesday back in May and June of 2019, respectively. Lupin made his Toy Galaxy debut in our video Titus and Megator, Masters of the Universe Ultra Rare Giants, and then he's been in a few Dan in the Photo Booth videos as well. Wednesday never made it into a video because she's just too wiggly, and also she doesn't want to be. She does not like me clapping to sync sound nor the degree to which I raise my voice when I host the show. She cries and storms out of the room and holds a grudge until like 20 minutes after we're done shooting. Do you want to do another one?
No, I think noise reduction is gonna wipe it all out.
Just go in the other room. So pissed.
Good timing.
Lupin is tall enough and has almost figured out how to open doorknobs on his own. Wednesday has a paintbrush that she chases if you throw it and carries around like a dog with a bone. I don't know to what degree us being home all the time this year has influenced their personalities, but they are hilarious and mischievous and way too smart for their own good. Number 6 is the return of G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe has come back to prominence multiple times over the years. 2020 saw them return as an action figure line, a video game, and almost another movie next year. The figures are great, if you can find them, but the best part was making our top 10 most wanted G.I. Joe Classified Series action figures video back in November. After tallying the votes, I got to make 3 different costumes and portray 3 different G.I. Joe characters, and it happened at just the right time. This year was a grind, and both producer Greg and I were due for a silly video that let us do dumb things and just have fun with it. That Serpentor costume made me laugh while I was making it, and still makes me laugh when I think about it now. Not to brag, but using an Aquaman shirt as the base was an inspired choice, and I don't blame you for not noticing it before. The googly eyes on the snake helmet are distracting. Number 5 is my hair. Well, not the way it is now, but the way it was for most of the year. Long and luxurious, a cosmetic indulgence motivated by external forces. It was a totally different look from how I had presented myself on the show up to this year, but it was absolutely how I was feeling. Like living in a splintered timeline, forced to adapt a pandemic persona, a pandasona. Ultimately, I cut it because I got tired of washing it every other day. Back to once a month for me. Number 4 is New York Toy Fair 2020. Back in February, I was fortunate enough to be able to attend my second New York Toy Fair. For those who don't know, Toy Fair is an annual industry event where all the companies show off a bunch of their stuff and retail buyers get to place orders. It's an international event, but it's only open to people in the industry, which includes media, which includes YouTubers who meet certain criteria, which includes me. Having been a collector for so long, it is an honor to be on that side of the velvet rope and to have the opportunity to talk to the people making and selling this stuff. And beyond that, many of the fellow YouTubers that I have met and become friends with since we started Toy Galaxy are there too, so it's a social event as well. And this year, it just so happened to be the last time I was able to do anything like that, and unfortunately, might be the last time for a long time. Hopefully next year will be different. Toy Fair 2021 is currently scheduled for May, but a lot is going to have to change for that to actually happen. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but not getting my hopes up. Number 3 is content creators. I follow a lot of artists on social media, comic book artists, illustrators, YouTubers, and of course, action figure creators and customizers. That's tough work in an ideal world. 2020 was not an ideal world. I know I struggled with the futility of creating anything this year. It is very hard to write jokes or even try to be funny in an ideal world. 2020 was not an ideal world. It helped me get through the tough times seeing how many people were able to continue working despite or in spite of the dumpster fire all around us. Eric Canetti, Matthew Armstrong, Kickley, Robert Wilson, Daniel Warren Johnson, Griffin Newman, Pixel Dan, Robo, Mike Case, Jesse DeStasio, Joey Ellis, Nate Pico, Sean Galloway, John Armour, D Amazing, Paul Harding, David Peterson, Dan Hip, Art Adams, Stronox 117, Fake Eyes 22, Thu Adams, Derek Loffman, Joel Carroll, Packrat Studios, Toys, Doc Shaner, Chris Samney, 16 Shooter, Carolina Cool Cat, Game Dave, Toy Palloy, and more. Thankfully, too many to name. A lot of you kept going, inspiring me to keep going whether you knew it or not. If you found a way to create anything this year, you're my hero. If you didn't or couldn't, I don't blame you. There were a lot of days where I chose to just play Rocket League instead. You're my hero too for doing what it took to survive. Number 2 is the return of Boba Fett. After years of speculation, anticipation, and fan fiction, Boba Fett is absolutely, positively, without a doubt, unquestioningly back in the Star Wars universe in a post-Return of the Jedi capacity, and better than ever before, he's on the verge of having character. For 40 years, he's been a glorified costume, or a kid. As a fully engaged Fett fanatic, it's not hard for me to admit that his reputation far exceeded his actual on-screen accomplishments. I longed for the day when I was interested in him for more than just the shape of his helmet and his proximity to Darth Vader. I've been collecting Boba Fett action figures for years, one specific figure. In fact, this year we released a video showcasing my vintage Kenner Boba Fett action figure focused collection called The Boba Set, reaching 500 pieces. My love for him was 99% physical. Swap his design out for Zuckuss or 4LOM and I'm not interested. Disney not only brought him back into the main Star Wars narrative post-Return of the Jedi, but announced his own show hitting Disney Plus in less than a year. It is a great time to be a fan and someone who has his retirement invested in action figures related to Boba Fett. And at number 1, Toy Galaxy. This isn't just a show, it's a community, on this side of the camera and that side. The best thing about 2020, by far, is all of the people helping to make and support this show. I know it sounds cliche, but we cannot make this show without all of our patrons, our YouTube channel members, subscribers, and everyone watching. Without all of you, it's just me and Greg sitting in my living room talking about movies, cartoons, and toys. That is not a show, and it is certainly not a community. This is a symbiotic relationship. Toy Galaxy gave me a sense of normalcy. It forced me to maintain a routine and shook me out of some of the lower depths of frustration and disappointment that crept in over the months. It made me focus on something rather than worrying about everything. Even with quarantines and lockdowns, Greg and I were able to maintain our production inside our own little Toy Galaxy bubble. This side of Toy Galaxy had the same stresses of weekly production it always had, of hoping jokes would land, of running out of time to triple check our research. With everything else swirling around outside, this side of Toy Galaxy never changed. 2020 allowed us to do some things we hadn't done before. We started live streaming as a new way to connect with the community and the content that we were covering. If 2020 doesn't happen, I don't know if we get to talk to Griffin Newman, Chuck Wagner, or Game Dave the way we did. Toy Galaxy expanded in 2020 with our second channel, Toy Galaxy 2. It gives us the freedom to make videos that were more about doing what we felt like doing instead of what YouTube's algorithms were telling us we should be doing. And that was motivated by things like the TGHQ videos, aka Dan in the Kitchen, which were 100% a direct product of 2020. Toy Galaxy, as part of its DNA, is about creating positivity. And that can be hard. Even when we're poking fun at something, we try to remember that someone out there loves that thing, and someone else worked really hard to make it. So much of our social world thrives on negativity, on tearing down, on pointing out the plot holes or the mistakes that other creators made, trying to make how it should have been more valid than how it is. They are, frequently, the loudest voices. Toy Galaxy was created to be a counter to all of that. A well, actually, that finds value in a cartoon about a guy who turns into a car, a movie whose only merit is that you smiled that one time when that character came on screen, an action figure that has a giant rocket in his jetpack that does not fire and never has. The best thing about 2020 for me was being able to work on this show and in this community with my friend Greg and our wives Kate and Melissa, who, by the way, have a podcast called Drunk Dish that you should check out on your favorite podcast listening platform. With so many in-person community activities suspended this year, being able to work with this team, carrying each other, and being carried was not only fun, important, and valuable, it was essential. In a year that did everything it could to take the joy out of everything, this team, this community, allowed me to have fun, to find happiness in the seemingly insignificant things, from Top Gun to Matt Tracker to Boba Fett to Snake Eyes, from Toy Fair to Rocket League to Life-Size Gundam to Super Sentai theme songs, from G.I. Joe to Transformers to Rubik the Amazing Cube, from Automan to Manimal. Thank you for Toy Galaxy. Are we about out of audio here? Thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you very, very much to those of you who already are. If you haven't heard, we started a second channel called Toy Galaxy 2. That's TOO. Head over there and subscribe for stuff we don't post here. If you're in the position to help the channel grow, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/toygalaxy or become a YouTube channel member. Please share this video and let us know in the comments down below what your top good takeaways are from 2020. There's got to be something. Dig deep if you have to. If you're here to watch this video and leave a comment, that in itself is something. That sounded a little dark. I didn't mean it that way. Smile when you type it in the comments. Smile when you type it in the comments.
Cut.